Okay, special edition of the Weege Show here. We keep doing these during our break between Supercross and Motocross. This is brought to you by Race Tech, Gold Valves. Okay, they'll make your bike perform better, but also Race Tech a big part of the Justin Brayton shootout. We talked to Brayton himself before this race. My plan was to go for the Weege Show and cover it. I was injured. I was out injured. The riders were fine. So we found some other Cub reporter in the back corner of the office that you can see right here at Racer X. Davey Coombs, you ended up going to Iowa on an off weekend.
I did.
And although you travel a ton, I think you're actually glad you went. I think you discovered a lot of cool stuff, getting back to the grassroots a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I used to go to Des Moines every year for the Arena Cross opener, which usually took place in November. And even before that, when I was a kid, there was a youth AMA national in a little track called Otter Creek, Iowa. So I was kind of retracing my steps a little bit. But, I flew in on Friday evening and accidentally was walking around the city, and I accidentally walked into an art installation that was just one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. Lots of funny Art Deco, postmodern rabbits and sculptures and all that. So it kind of set the stage, but it was, I was surprised like how big Des Moines has gotten since, back in the day. And of course, Riverside Raceway, which is Tony Wenk's place, is about 45 minutes away, maybe 30 minutes away. And so I got up and just casually took the drive down Saturday, found random Iowa stuff like giant cows. I found fish on a stick. I found the National Balloon Museum, which who knew? But it was a fun way to kind of just take it easy and then when I finally showed up, right around noon for the racing, man, they were going full swing. Tony Wenk had a real nice crowd at Riverside Raceway. Obviously, this was the Justin Brayton homecoming race, and a lot of fast kids out there. And I think that it was cool because even though Cameron McAdoo wasn't there, he had posted a quote saying, congratulations to Justin on his career. You made it possible for a small kid in Iowa to believe that you could make it as a professional racer. And I think that vibe was going for every kid there. And, Justin was out, on his pit bike. He was, talking to kids. He was riding on the track and everything. He didn't really race, but he was there more as the host of the event. And of course, the promoter, Tony Wenk, he's been through some tough times lately. There was a tornado that went through. And you think a tornado, Iowa, Kansas, that stuff happens all the time, but then you see the path of it. Tony's house was completely destroyed. It's literally ashes and rubble right now. And his wife and his two little girls were in it. It was pretty scary for them, to say the least. But it was nice to have an event like this because everyone could show their appreciation. And if that wasn't bad enough, we had his Loretta Lynn's area qualifier a couple with Raceway flooded, and they had high winds with that, and it was just it was lots of natural disasters in a row for Riverside Raceway. But then, it all kind of came together when Justin called everyone under the big tent, and this massive bench racing conversation broke out. And I think that's what you probably missed most, because it was not only was it Justin Brayton, but it was Filthy Phil Nicoletti, Damon Bradshaw was there, his old rival Denny Stevenson from the 125 Supercross days drove over from Nebraska, and then of course Wes Kane was there, and Dangerous Dave Derringer, and we just sat there and talked for a good couple hours. And at one point Tony pulled out Justin's 2018 Daytona Supercross trophy, which is like a relic or a holy icon for state of Iowa. I mean, that's the one Supercross win and a big one. So, and I also got to talk to Justin just about his career in general, some old stories about his future, doing the World Supercross coming up in the fall and probably his last hurrah. And he's done it right for a 38-year-old. He's got it all together and is going off on his own terms. And Weege, you're going to hate this, but he's moving back to Iowa.
I know. All the pieces started to crumble. I went to a dinner with them before Anaheim won, and that's when they announced that they were going to move to Iowa. And I was like in tears. I was crying in my plate. And then he had his last day at Club MX, like before the Salt Lake finale. And this kind of was the beginning of moving back. But although I'm known as the Justin Brayton guy, I feel like you were even earlier on it than I was because, okay, I know that your family promotes Loretta Lynn's. So everyone would think your favorite riders are the guys that dominate Loretta's. But I've always felt like you have a soft spot for the guys who go through public school, for the guys who don't necessarily dominate as amateurs and kind of hard work, blue collar their way into solid careers. And Brayton's one of those types that I went to regular high school and then I figured it out, guys.
Yeah, and that came up in the bench racing conversation. And yeah, you know, if Justin Brayton reminds me of anyone, I would honestly say Jeff Stanton. Same kind of background, same late blooming kind of career. Of course, Jeff had more success because he really came along at a good time and was groomed by Ricky Johnson and Roger DeCoster and got to race with Bradshaw and Bale. Well, poor Justin comes along and he's in the middle of the Carmichael to Stewart to Reed to Villapoto to Dungey. There's not a lot of race wins left on the table right there. But he was always there. Yeah, I think anyone in Iowa, he's a hero. He's a role model. And I got to tell you, I don't blame him for moving back to Iowa. I mean, I don't know my way around Charlotte that well, but I do know Winterset, Iowa, and that's where the track is located. And I think he's going to move close to Des Moines or Fort Dodge. I don't have my Iowa geography down that much. However, Winterset, which is where Riverside Raceway is, I had no idea, but it's where John Wayne was born. They have a museum right downtown, and if that weren't enough, the Bridges of Madison County basically takes place right there in, who knew, Madison County, Iowa. And they even have the bar that was featured in the movie. Now, only your mom probably knows about the Bridges of Madison County, because it's been a while, but what an idyllic little town and what a fun road trip. I really enjoyed it. I told Tony to count me in next year, although I'm sure you'll go and I'm sure Justin will be there, but I would go back in a second. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for you, okay, look, people don't know this, like behind the scenes, the amount of weird stuff that you find outside of races, especially if we go to Europe. Like if we're going to France for donations or something, look out. We've got World War I and World War II history books just coming out of your brain. You're obviously a little busier now promoting the races at the top than you maybe were 20 years ago. But these are the guys you used to hang out with like Bradshaw and Stevenson. Was it a little bit of a throwback for you to be like, hey, I'm just hanging out. I'm not running this race.
Absolutely.
And I'm hanging out with old buddies.
I did find myself out on the infield, picking up little kids every now and then and trying to help out. But yeah, it's neat to go back to an event like that. And this weekend, I'm going to go to Jeff Cernick's race in Pleasure Valley, but with the Dylan Slusser benefit. And he's got like a $30,000 purse, which is awesome. Just shows how much the motocross community remembers Dylan, at least in our PAMX area. But yeah, then next week on Monday, man, I'm on a plane, Fox Raceway at Pala, and the whole 50-year celebration of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. And it'll be a different kind of day at the races, a different kind of week at the races.
Oh yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to it. If you'd have told me 2 months ago that we'd see Antonio Cairoli and Ryan Dungey on the starting gate to begin the 2022 season, I would have said, no, we'd be more likely to see Damon Bradshaw and Denny Stevenson out there.
Yeah, there you go.
But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to seeing Jet Lawrence and all of these 250 guys are going to be gunning for him. It's going to be a great season.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify. So you're on Pulp on Monday. So we have a bit of a different TV package. Not totally, because we've been part of MAV TV with Lucas Oil Pro Motocross for a long time. But I think it's the streaming component that we got to explain. All the motos except 3 will be on MAV TV. So if you have MAV TV, you can watch every moto live. 3 of them will be live on NBC. I believe that's Thunder Valley, Southwick, and Redbud. But otherwise, every moto is on MAV TV. But just explain this streaming component. We're no longer with Peacock. We're on MAV TV Plus, and we've even got some discounts. So explain how this is going to work.
Well, it's if you sign up for MAV TV Plus, they're streaming every moto, and it's $6.99 per month. It's a bargain.
Yeah.
And to go to one place, and that's what people have been wanting for a long time. But the problem with pro motocross, especially here in America, is no one's going to put 4 hours of live motocross racing on a network TV package. And that's why we always jumped around between first motos on MAV, second motos on NBC Sports. We may have been staying that direction, but NBC Sports Network is now gone, as you know, and they were able to sort of piecemeal the Supercross package together because they still had 1 year left on their contract, but we didn't. And we saw this as an opportunity to get all the motos live. We stayed with those 3 motos on NBC because the industry really likes that, and it helps spread our message a little more to mainstream America. But for the hardcore motocross fans, $6.99 a month. It's a bargain on MAV TV Plus, and I know that I'm going to sign up for it on Monday just so I could troubleshoot it and figure it all out. And yeah, it's not Peacock, but it's going to be better than Peacock if you're a motocross fan.
I'll do you one better. We have discount codes, so it's supposed to be $6.99. We're going to give you 50% off. So we'll charge you $3.49. Just type in Pro MX50, all capitals, Pro MX50, and you get 50% off the first month if you do the monthly subscription, or we'll give you $10 off if you do the annual subscription. Type in Pro MX10. Pro MX10 for $10 off annual, Pro MX50 for 50% off the first month of the monthly sub. One other thing I want to mention, again, people in the United States don't realize this, but we had trouble getting those races to stream. They were like geo-fenced. So a lot of countries, I believe, including Jet and Hunter Lawrence's own country in Australia, you could not watch the races last year. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, you can imagine how many times I got grief from Lucas Myrtle, let alone Jet and Hunter. But yeah,
and
that was
fans.
one of the things, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to change, because of the geo blocking, geo fencing, and all that. So I mean, if you could type in the words mavtv.com in your computer, you can get this package. And I didn't know about the discount. I was busy hanging out with Justin Brayton all weekend. You were studying, so thank you.
When it comes to saving money, I'm always studying. It might even take precedent over Brayton. Okay, so there you go. MAV TV Plus will have all your streaming, and it works for summertime. You can be watching races on your phone while you're fishing or hanging out with your kids or whatever people do during the summertime. You don't always want to sit in front of a TV. I get it. And it should be exciting. Yes. If you had said that Antonio Caroli would be the second biggest surprise entering a series, you'd be like, well, who is left? We all knew someday Ryan Dungey would probably consider coming back. We heard these rumors forever. But 6 years, Davey. It's been 6 years. This is an experiment, the likes of which we've never quite seen. 6 years is a long time.
Well, I was telling the story with Justin and those guys about how I found out that Dungey was coming back, because that was a shocker. What had happened is they were shooting, the people at Feld were kind enough to let Lucas Oil set up a studio at the Atlanta Supercross so they could do the bumpers and, hey, you're watching Lucas Oil Pro Motocross on MAV TV, or, those kind of things they do. And Cooper Webb was not involved and didn't participate. And when Tim Cotter inquired, Ian Harrison said, well, unfortunately, he's got some issues. He's got some health things he wants to sort out and come back strong in 2023. That was a real letdown, but we were hoping that Jeffrey Hurlings was coming, but then that wasn't it either. But then Ian said, I have to ask you about 2 numbers, number 222 and number 5. And we were like, we know who 222 is, but number 5, who wants to run number? Oh, it's Dungey. And that's kind of the eureka moment. And the disappointment of not having Cooper out there, or, Jeffrey still being hurt. I think that a really good couple replacements for KTM are Antonio Cairoli, the 9-time world champion, and Ryan Dungey, the 8-time AMA Supercross and Pro Motocross champion. So yeah, it's a bench racer's dream, and it should be a lot of fun.
I can tell a story now that's just become relevant. I was at a KTM event back in October. They were groundbreaking their new building in California. And I was talking to Roger DeCoster about various things. And Roger, he's going to tell you everything. He doesn't hold anything back. And he said last year was a struggle for them in motocross, for Marvin and for Cooper. So they said, hey, Ryan, could you just come out and ride the bike and just give us a third-party opinion on the bike? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it the riders? Is it us? What's wrong? So they had him ride. And Roger's like, he was faster than Marv and Cooper were in any day we rode. And there's no doubt in my mind that he was podium potential. And this was, I think, the week after the final round. So they had just seen 12 rounds, and Roger's like, he was podium speed. So, of course, racing's different than practice days, but this could be very promising. 6 years would almost seem impossible to overcome in most sports, but it's Ryan Dungey. Who knows, man? Maybe he's good again.
Yeah. Well, when he retired, after he clinched that fourth Supercross championship. You know, I think that he'd gotten himself scared the year before when he hurt his neck at Thunder Valley and just thought it was a good time to exit. But I'm sure the passion was still burning. And you can look at the guy and see he's in 100% shape. And, you know, to not have to do Supercross for both Tony and Ryan, I think is going to be a benefit, because, you know, even though Supercross is a little easier and more technical, it's still a slog, man, especially, you know, 17 almost consecutive weekends. And to come out fresh, I have no doubt that Jason Anderson, Eli Tomac, and of course the defending champion Dylan Frantis are going to be ready to go. But I could see these guys sneaking in there and really giving them some headaches, because I mean, if you're Chase Sexton and all of a sudden you find yourself on the starting gate with two people you grew up idolizing, that's got to get in your head a little bit. But I think that those guys will definitely, they'll add something to it. But in the end, it would be tough for them to win a title, even, you know, even though they've done it 17 times before. You know, for Antonio to be learning a whole new series, and for Ryan to be coming back from, you know, almost 6 years, they got their work cut out for them. But as we know, those are two of the hardest working guys the sport has ever known.
Yeah, my hope is, title is a bit of a stretch, but my hope is that both of them, and I think Caroli said this is for fun, so I'm not worried about that. I hope Ryan can, whatever he gets, realize that racing itself is fun and not just the big trophy at the end of the day. Right. And one other rider to talk about, Ken Roczen, who, when he disappeared after Daytona, I don't think we or even he knew what was in store. Like, this was not a I'm definitely coming back for motocross thing. We didn't know if we'd see him again at all. I talked to him last week. Then he put this crazy Instagram post out about it. He's ready with a lot of F-bombs thrown in. That's a nice bonus, because I don't think we could take for granted at one point that Ken Roczen was going to be back and feeling good. But apparently he's going to be both. So that's intriguing also.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the clock was ticking on his career, because he was just trying to settle himself and find the right, you know, mentality, the right fitness, whatever was wrong with his health. He did a lot of testing, and when he posted some photos of him and the whole team and talking about like 5 consecutive Team Honda days of testing, I was like, he is trying really hard to get going. And then you know, the interview you do with him, which by the way is up there with the Jeremy Coker interview for being just truly open, informative, and quite interesting. You know, hearing Kenny, it seemed like he was back to his old self. You know, certainly the Kenny that started Supercross with a win at Anaheim 1, and hopefully the Kenny that's won a couple 450 Pro Motocross titles here. I like I said, I can't wait to see just Dungey and Caroli alone. But if they weren't there, the guys that we're expecting to be there, I can't wait to see it.
I'm going to bring this all the way back to hanging out with Bradshaw like you did last weekend. Bradshaw, I've talked to him a million times. He's a fly racing guy, so he helps us at our shows that we do in the Supercross pits. And he said over and over, the biggest problem Bradshaw had, right, is that he couldn't be happy with anything but wins. Even second place killed him. He'd rather crash, right, than finish second. That's what all these guys are. Like, Roczen cannot come back and be like, I'm just going to take my salary and get 8th. I don't think Dungey can. I don't think Caroli can. These guys are all bred only one way. You probably got the chat with Bradshaw about that. It is funny how these guys are wired. They do not come back just to log laps. When they come back, they always think, I'm coming back to win. And there's like 10 of them that think that. That's what's crazy about it.
Yeah. And, you know, when Bradshaw was racing, you know, it was that weird time when Team Honda was dominating Supercross year after year after year. And he was right there. And just always, you know, seemed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And you know, that burns him to this day. And but yeah, you know, the intensity that Damon had. The thing is, these guys have it every day. They have it in the gym. They have it on the bike. They have it when they're testing, and they certainly have it when they show up at the races. They have to. It's, you know, Ricky Carmichael changed all this. I still believe that. I still say that. I still think that. And, you know, the longevity, and to bring it back to being, you know, in Iowa, the longevity of what Justin Brayton has done with his career, in part by picking and choosing when to race outdoors, when to race overseas, when to, you know, he's made quite a career of being in the right place at the right time. And, you know, to have him at 38 still be relevant, still be fast, still be in the mix. That's extraordinary, especially because it took him so long to get there. And, you know, with a guy like Damon, he was expected to win the moment he showed up in a Supercross race. If you go back and look at 1989, before he even raced a 125 Supercross, he got third in San Diego behind Ricky Johnson and Jeff Stanton in the 250 class. I mean, there is no 16-year-old out there anywhere that would go out and get fourth or third, get on the podium in his first, you know, Monster Energy AMA Supercross. It just wouldn't happen. So that was the kind of intensity Bradshaw brought to it. It's the kind that I think these other guys bring to it. But that long, slow, cool burn that Justin Brayton had, for me, that's the way I think I would have done it.
Yeah, if you talk to enough riders in the pits, you'll have plenty of guys. Even though Brayton doesn't have a ton of titles or race wins in America, a lot of guys are like, I wouldn't mind having that trajectory. I wouldn't mind having that career. Yes, and I will say with Bradshaw, as great as Jet Lawrence is, we did some stats recently where he's 18 and he's got a title now indoors and out in the small bike class, which only a few guys have done at that age. You know, Villapoto, Carmichael, Stewart. That's about it. Travis Pastrana. But Damon Bradshaw at 18 was on the verge of winning the Premier Class Supercross title. Yeah. So that's a whole nother level of pressure that eventually got to him. But I'm sure now that he looks back, and especially with Denny Stevenson there, you guys must have some stories that were there stories you couldn't even tell there? Probably definitely stories you can't tell here. There had to be
well, with Denny there were, but with Damon, and Damon pulled out one of my all-time favorite after-hours stories, and that was when he came back at High Point after his hiatus in 1995. He brought his practice bike up from North Carolina in the back of his pickup truck so that, you know, Yamaha and Steve Butler could work on it while he was here at High Point. And then he put it back in his truck and went back to the hotel. And the night after the race, Jeff Emig and Denny Stevenson and I think Phil Lawrence decided that they were going to, you know, fake steal his bike just to be funny. And I don't think they realized that Damon heard them and came out with a 45 and literally had them in his sights. And it was an oh shit moment for those guys. And they laughed about it. And later Denny pulled me aside and goes, "Hey, dude, that was the scariest thing ever happened in my life. I really thought that was it." So one other thing about Damon, you know, we've been doing this 50-year countdown, MAV TV Plus, the history of motocross. And I've been going back in the Cycle News archives and researching a lot of stuff. And man, I'd forgotten just how prolific Damon was as an amateur. He was everywhere. He was at the World Mini GP. He was at Loretta Lynn's. He was in the Florida Winter Am Series. He was at Ponca City, and he was winning everything. And, you know, when he came out of the pro ranks, it was a lot different than when Justin Brayton came out of the pro ranks. You know, Justin, you know, came to pro motocross through arena cross. Damon, man, he went straight to the Yamaha factory truck, box vans at that time, and he was expected to win, and he did.
Well, what we're seeing now is careers are undoubtedly going much longer than they used to. It pisses me off when I see people saying like the sport needs to change this, the sport needs to change that. I'm like, more riders are choosing to keep racing longer than ever. It can't be that bad. This is what we're left with. Eli Tomac at his age, he's going to be 30 in a few months. He could have been done. He's still racing. Jason Anderson, maybe better than ever. He's 29. Justin Barcia's 30. He's still racing. He's still good. Frantis, I think, is 28. He's still racing. He's still good. Crowley's 36. Dungey's 32. These guys could all be retired. This is the gift that we are given to have all these guys that, I mean, Jeff Stanton retired. What was he, David? 25, 26? The sport has changed a lot.
Yeah. In 1994, he retired and he had turned pro as soon as he was 16 in 1985. So yeah, he was 25 years old. He was also a 6-time champion, you know, and he had, you know, Jeff had admittedly, the same thing happened to Johnny O'Mara late in his career. He admittedly overtrained and it kind of burned him out. And I think that, you know, there's been conversation about that with both Ryans and Ricky Carmichael because they trained so hard. But yeah, you have to remember those guys were factory riders when they were, well, in Ricky's case, he was a factory rider when he was on a 60. And in Damon's case, when he was on a 60, and it's hard to maintain that fire for that long, but it's changed now. And I think that the way people go about it, the way they go about their careers, they manage them a little better. You know, would you rather be, Gale Sayers and have a 6-year career and be in the Hall of Fame, or would you rather be Emmitt Smith and have a 20-year career and be in the Hall of Fame? It depends on how you're built, how you're wired, and how your luck is with injuries, as we found out with Travis Pastrana.
Yeah. Which leads me to something. This is funny. When Eli Tomac jumped into the sport and blew it up by winning his first pro race, there was so much talk about it's his dad. His dad is a legend, John Tomac, one of the best American bicyclists ever. And then I feel like Eli himself became the story. And then we almost forgot the John Tomac thing. But okay, that was 2010. This is 2012. He's still in his prime. And they've talked a lot about they played the long game the whole time. I think I've seen the crowd respond more to Eli Tomac this year than ever. And I think now we finally got to that kind of living legend status of like, hey, he's one of the all-time best. I get to watch him. And what a overall package and program that they've put together. Like you said, not just for one race, not just for 1 year, but the overall package that they've put together for almost 13 years now. I think we're all starting to realize, boy, we need to appreciate this while it's here, because this is one of the all-time best, maybe not the best rider ever, because it's hard to beat Carmichael's records, but their approach is really hard to argue that they've done it absolutely A+.
Yeah, for Eli Tomac in 2022 to be the AMA Supercross champion, it shows that he's been at the very top of this sport since the day he showed up. And I remember when we heard about him signing with Star Racing, and that actually happened. I heard about it in the airport leaving Salt Lake City last year when Bobby Regan told me, and
I did not believe you. I was like, Davey, forget it. Don't even
imply that it was Cooper Webb coming back to the team.
Yeah.
And then when the story broke that it was actually Ryan Dungey, that it was actually Eli Tomac.
Yeah.
I was shocked because he'd been with, Kawasaki for 5 years. I just couldn't picture him on a Yamaha, but it allowed him to sort of not reinvent himself, but reignite himself. He's still Eli Tomac, but I think getting with a new mix of people, riding down Florida at the farm, the whole Star Racing setup and work ethic, again, that you talked about with Jeremy Coker, how they go about things. I think that resonates with fans that Eli was not satisfied being one-time AMA Supercross champion. Last year he didn't quite look the same. And you could tell he either needed he was either going to quit or make a change, but he made a really good change. And, and ironically, so did Jason Anderson by taking his spot that he left at Kawasaki. And so did Malcolm Stewart by moving over to Rockstar Husqvarna, because I think that this is the first time in history that 3 riders on brand new teams for them went 1, 2, 3 in the final AMA Supercross standings. So, change is good sometimes, definitely good. And in the case of Eli Tomac, the fact that we're going to get to see him this summer again and see him defend his Supercross title maybe one more time. And by that point, if he's ready to walk off the stage with all of his trophies and championships, I wouldn't blame him one bit. I think we're already in bonus time with Eli Tomac. Okay,
I'll end the bench racing here with this. But the one guy who can douse all this, we're so pumped on the rejuvenation of Tomac and Anderson and Dungey and Crowley are here. One guy didn't change anything. There's a chance Dylan Frantis just says, yeah, take all your stories, take all that heat. Here's a fire extinguisher. I'm putting all that out. We have to respect the champ. He shut everybody down last year, and they were all there. He shut them all down. So that's dangerous. He's still there.
Yeah, in the year before that, he did it in the 250 class.
Yes.
But Dylan is, to me, he's like a big question mark right now. And I know that sounds crazy because I'm not thinking about Dylan from the summer of 21.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Dylan in the spring of 22 in Supercross, where he just didn't look like he was nearly as comfortable on the bike as he was last summer. And maybe that's why he parked it a little earlier as far as Supercross goes, so that he could get back to his outdoor groove, because he was formidable. And, to have all these guys coming after him, this is his chance to maybe make a statement like a Jeffrey Hurlings type thing, or a Tim Geiger, for what he has been doing over in Europe, that he's the fastest man on the planet when it comes to motocross. So yeah, I think Dylan will definitely come out swinging. But if he doesn't, I'm going to worry that he's in a different kind of slump. And, and hopefully Supercross, he just kind of, didn't find the right setup, didn't find the right rhythm, didn't find the right whatever mindset. But when he puts that number 1 plate on next week, he needs to get it back in a hurry because he's got company.
Well, that's what's going to make this first round at Fox Raceway so fun, because there's all these storylines internally, and then the guys all measuring themselves against each other and where their confidence is. Yeah, he's going to want to reestablish himself. I forgot one thing we need to talk about. I don't know when we're officially announcing this, but the broadcast booth, I'm back. 12 weeks of glory, favorite job of the year. Don't tell my wife that 12 Saturdays are actually about as fun as anything else I do all year. But different co-hosts. We'll have an official list of who, but this is a little freedom that we get in the 50th anniversary. Mav TV said, knock yourselves out. So we're going to have rotating co-hosts in the truck.
Yeah, and you're going to have as many championships in the truck at Pala as you're going to see out on the racetrack, because Jeremy McGrath and Ricky Johnson joining you for the first round, and I know what the rest of the lineup is looking like. We already talked to James Stewart, and this will be the 25th anniversary of when he invented the the 20th anniversary of when he invented the scrub at Bud's Creek. So I was like, hey, do you want to come and be Jason's partner? And he was like, absolutely. In fact, he wanted to do them all. But the reason we came up with this, as you know, 50 years of pro motocross, we're celebrating the history that goes back to 1972, and we thought that there's so many stories out there, but so many worthy champions. Guys, like Ryan Villapoto. We were going to have Ryan Dungey. That was the other way we kind of found out that there might be something going on, was when he was going to do Millville, and then said, on second thought, no, I'll get back to you. Okay. When he got back to us, it was with an entry. And anyway, it'll be a lot of fun. And also, of course, you'll get to finally work with the GOAT. Ricky's going to do the 3 NBC races, and it'll be a lot of fun. And also welcome to Jason Thomas. He's going to be out as our pit reporter. God knows he's earned it with all the bench racing he's done with you and Mathis on Pulp MX and the fly racing stuff that he does every weekend. So it'll be a fun summer. It'll be great to have those guys come back, and also to have as we've been talking about, the spread that you're going to have before you in both classes is going to be fantastic. So good luck, and don't get too starstruck with these guys.
It's funny. You did the TV thing a long time ago, and I remember you were always advocating for this. Like, what if Supercross had like an East and West crew, because of the idea that, yes, stick and ball sports, there's 15 games per day, per weekend, whatever. So you get 15 ex-pros to weigh in. Then they go to the desk at the beginning and the end of the games, and there's 4 more ex-pros or ex-coaches. I love listening to David Bailey growing up, but it was one voice, was the only voice we were getting. You've been talking about this concept for like 15 years, and now you finally get to do it. What if we had a variety of guys every week, so we had a variety of voices? There we go.
Yeah, and selfishly, the reason it first started germinating in my head is because 2004, 2005, I'd been doing it for 10 years as the pit reporter, and I'd started a family. Yeah. And I also, Racer X had taken off. And so I was too busy to go do every Supercross and do every pro race. And I thought, man, if we could, somehow get this revolving. And then, your partner of the last few years, Grant Langston, last summer, before all the stuff happened, he was getting burned out. He admitted it. He was, his shop is doing killer. And he was like, it's hard to be a dad and be a businessman and be gone 3 days every weekend. And that as well as anyone, Jason. So I thought, what, why don't we try this and use Ricky Carmichael, and let's use James Stewart, and let's use the Ryans, and revolve them, because they all have something to say. They've all stayed relevant and close to the sport. And I think that people would really like to hear what they remember about a particular track, or what they think of a particular rider. And when the first guy I asked, though, was David Bailey, and that's because I also had such fond memories of listening to him for so many years, and talking to him and being part of the deal with him and Art Ekman. And unfortunately, David is going through a shoulder injury right now. So fingers crossed he'll be ready to go for the last round of the season. And we'll that'd be a nice way to end the 50 years of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross.
Yeah. Can't wait. Just go to promotocross.com/watch. We got a link there, and then you can see the MAV TV stuff, the broadcast times, how to get MAV TV Plus. Remember those discounts. And we're about a week, honestly, just about a week away at this point. I can't believe it, but I also can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Thanks, man. Yep.
Hey, no worries. And, before I go, I do want to say once again, hats off to Tony Wenk in Riverside Raceway MX. What he does for the Midwest motocross community is amazing. And, I knew Tony at first through Pit Pass Radio, and then him actually coming and racing at Loretta Lynn's. And as a promoter, he's a real pillar, not just of the Iowa motocross community, but the Midwest in general. He's been through a really tough year with the tornado and the floods. He's actually living above a store in downtown Winterset as they try to rebuild his house and or even clear what's left of his house. He's got a long way to go, but to keep holding races, to keep having practices and whatnot, and just keep that place going. It's local promoters are so important for the continuity of the sport and the future of the sport. So hats off. Thanks for inviting me out. And Jason, thanks for choosing that weekend to get your knee surgery, because otherwise I might not have gone and had such a good time. So thanks. And I'll see you guys next year. I'll see you though, Jason, next week.
Can't wait. California, here we come. See you, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. All right, Davey, I'm gonna dial in Marshall Weltin, who you saw dominate all the races, and see what that Justin Brayton shootout was like from his perspective. And he's out in California getting ready for Stopwatch National Day at Glen Helen. So things are happening for guys getting prepped up. This should be fun. Cool.
Thanks.
Okay, let's chat with the other half of the Justin Brayton shootout in Iowa. Just had a chance to talk to Davey Coombs and what the atmosphere was like there. But the main point of this race is that it's actually a race and kind of old school, like a money race. So Marshall Weltin, you're like the bounty hunter, bro. You've been doing this for a couple of years. You did Supercross this year, you did well, but you show up at these local races and take the cash. And that's what you did.
I put money on the line, someone's got to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you say how much you make, or are we going to pull like a Kyle Peters, pretend there's not that much money so people don't come and race you?
KP is so capped. KP's just got 6 figures racked in the bank account.
No, according to him, he's not making anything in arena cross.
I know. Just like, come on, bro, give it up. No, I mean, it's kind of funny because every year they make me write a big check out and then take a picture of it. This is my 3rd year doing it now. So
okay.
Every year after I finish it up, they take all my winnings combined, even my 25 plus A, not even the first class, and they'll take everything combined and then write it into one big check, and then they'll write how much I made. But I think it was 4,100 is what I made for the weekend.
Nice. Okay, 4,100. And is this just old school, just trucking your way up there with some bikes and going racing?
I tried to plan this one out a little bit. The past 2 years it was old school, but this year I bummed the hotel off Phil, so that was cool of him. We actually slept same king. We shared.
No, you slept in the same bed?
It was a little rough.
No.
It was better than my van, but so we did that, but just old school money race. I raced 12 races in 2 days. It was a lot of racing. I think I did over 120 laps with practice and everything. So I trucked it out there myself. Me and Sean Ulikowski and our buddy Bucket, we convoyed together on the way there. And then after that, I decided it's no point driving from South Carolina to Iowa, then Iowa back to South Carolina, and then South Carolina to Cali. So I just went straight to Cali from Iowa.
So yeah, that's where you are now. So we're live in the trenches. This is a Stopwatch Nationals Day at Glen Helen. You're getting ready to go out ride?
Yeah, I've been mentally preparing for the past 24 hours I've never done a Stopwatch National. I'm an East Coast guy.
Oh, wow. You've ridden Glen Helen, I would think, at some point?
Yeah, I have. Just never the Thursday before National.
Yeah. Okay, so the plan, you're putting a privateer program together and you're racing. Are you 450 class now for outdoors?
Yeah, 450 class.
And how are you doing this? Because we know for privateers, notoriously 12 nationals. Are you driving? Where are you getting funding? How are you going to make this work?
Got a few pretty cool people in my corner. Still the same supporters from Supercross, SRS, and here on Appraisal Services. Had some more people jump on board with Mobile Power Sports. That's a new e-commerce website for Michigan. They're based out of Traverse City. They stepped up big with just covering expenses and helping me get to the race. And I think Dirt Bike Depot is on board, and SKDA, and Andiamo Italian Restaurants. So just a few people just kind of helping put the program together. And I think I'll have a full-time mechanic for the summer, working with a guy back east, and also have a guy in Cali that's just going to help me while I'm out here. So I can't afford to bring a guy like across the country with me and, you know, supply room, board, all that, but finding a way to kind of like piece it together.
And where are you crashing? Where are you actually staying right now?
I'm at Darrington I's house.
Gotcha. Okay. And then
But we've
also
lived together a lot in the past couple of years. Like in Europe we stayed, and then all summer in Canada we were teammates. So
I
he's a
was
good friend.
thinking that you guys were both the EMX like GP guys going back 3-4 years, right?
Yeah, he's a good friend. He's a good dude.
And there's a retro theme to your gas. Explain this.
Yeah, we came up with the idea with SKDA and Kuzo, and it's a 50th year of motocross. So for the whole theme, we're gonna try and do a retro theme bike for every single race, one-off kit. I have to see what's coming out this weekend. It's not been released yet, but it's we're gonna try and keep it as original as possible, and you know, still keep a little bit new school. But yeah, SKDA has done a pretty cool job with coming up with some ideas.
Okay, you're racing 450 outdoors. Now, every year, some guy that we're not thinking of coming into the year, kind of like a privateer type dude at your level, 450 outdoors, starts turning it up. And then by the end of the year, he's like getting 8th and 9th. That was like, say, Cody Schock last year. There's been a million of these dudes. What is in the back of your mind? How well do you think you can do? Because we have seen privateers kind of do some damage outdoors on a 450.
I kind of have the same outlook coming into Supercross. It's just, you know, see where I'm at coming into it. I'm behind the 8 ball training wise, and I'm, you know, setup's coming together. I feel like I'm in a good place, but I don't have many expectations for the first 3, but hopefully by round 4 or 5, I start turning it up. Yeah, it'd be nice to break into the top 10, get some results. I'm predominantly an outdoor rider, so I think it suits me well, but I've never really made a full push at all this. And 2 35-minute motos back to back is nothing to be overlooked, and I think everyone kind of understands how large that task is. But I think I'll be in a good place. I think, like you're saying, I'd like to, you know, put in some results at the end of the year, and I think I'm capable. Just need to stay healthy, and you know, I think I need to just keep progressing as the year goes on. I can't ask too much too quick.
The Supercross thing. You had not even raced Supercross that much, right?
I've had these dang shoulders injuries plaguing me. So 2019, I think I made it around at round 4. Coming into round 4, I already dislocated my shoulder, and I tried to race round 4, and it was done. And yeah, I didn't have much experience with it. I didn't do good in 2019, and I tried also in maybe 2016 before I did the Europe thing. But not a lot. I've definitely practiced and prepped a good bit, but I've never pulled through. And this was the first season where I clicked off every round, and I noticed, like, even at the end, it was like I was racing the track instead of just out there doing the jumps. So it was nice to have some aggression and actually feel like I was in the race.
Dude, you were making most of the mains, especially right at the beginning of the year when all the riders are there healthy, and you were just getting back into it. Did you surprise yourself a little bit? Because that bubble, that's such a tough spot to live, and you were kind of getting it done most of the time. Were you surprised how well it was going, considering how little you've raced it?
Yeah, I mean, the prep came from Club MX. If I didn't have that, none of it would be possible. They really kind of tee you up for success, and I had minimal prep because of my shoulder surgery in September. I had about I think it was 3.5, 4 weeks total of riding before coming into round 1 on SX, and I think that's kind of why my results progressed as the season went on. But it was nice to just stay healthy all season. I didn't have any expectations, and I didn't know where I'd be. And I think that's kind of what helped me be there at the end of the year, is not putting any pressure on myself, because everyone who supports me, they don't really expect any specific thing out of me. They just, you know, they want me to do my best, and whatever comes. And that's kind of, they're just having a good time with it, because it's what you're supposed to do as a privateer, I guess.
That's right. Well, I would say this, dude, like on the outside, the fans are always like, these poor guys, they don't have the factory bikes, they're not making the money. But you guys seem to enjoy yourselves at the races more than anybody. Like maybe it's the low pressure or whatever, but you go to the privateer pits and everybody's having a good time.
I mean, you should. That's why you're there. I mean, I'm not making any money. I went red in Supercross even after the Pulp MX race. I'm still in the negative. It didn't go good financially. I just have a lot of expenses, but I don't view it from a financial standpoint. I know I've got a limited shelf life in racing, and if I don't make anything out of it, or don't, make some big contract, I feel like I don't have anything else I'd rather be doing right now than racing. So I'm happy with how everything's going, and my bike's really good. That's one thing I prioritize. That's why I don't really make that much money racing, is because I stick it all into my bike. Twisted Development hooks it up with the engines. My bike's been really fast, and linked up with Art of War suspension for outdoors, and it's handling really good. So I stuck quite a bit of money into the setup and the chassis, suspension, and I feel like that's worth it. That's kind of what can help you get through the year, is when your bike is good, then you're not asking too much out of it. You can, stay healthier. So that's my mindset with that, to be a little easier.
Did you have on your list of, I will end up making a 450 main event in Supercross on a 250? Did you have that on your bingo card of how 2022 is going to go?
Yeah, I was like, man, it would be cool to just race 450 class, because I ride with Cade Clayson and Freddie Norton a lot, and we're really competitive in the practice slaps. I'm like, Cade just got 10th, and I'm not, it's always so different when it comes to race time. And I was like, man, even if I could make it in the main, that'd be pretty cool. So that sparked it, is when, flies, or when they like started to fall off a little bit. And then like the pulp races in Denver, and I was like, well, if I'm there, I might as well race it. So then if Steve didn't put on the race, I don't think I would have raced that. So it's really, shout out to Steve.
Yeah, but 450 night show and main pays a lot better, right? So that worked out double. You got the pulp money, and then the next night or the previous week, more money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with Denver and Utah, and even the previous week, it was and then the race in Iowa here, I had like pretty decent 4-week run to kind of make a little bit of money back finally.
Yeah. Good. That's what you need in time for the Nationals. Phil is hurt right now. The arm is starting to knit back together, though. The arm is coming back together. You're going to get a couple races head start. He's not going to race round one. Do you think you can take him when he does come back outdoors? Can you do this?
I mean, Phil is so tough. It's not right. He enjoys suffering more than anyone I know, but it is nice to see his arms healing back up healthy. It looks really good.
Yep.
I think, he took a little bit of time. Like he is so disciplined, and he does not miss a workout, a gym workout, cycling, riding, a moto, and never misses anything. I think honestly, he ran himself into the ground a little bit coming in towards the end of SX, but he did have some really great results. So it's nice to see that it kind of paid off.
Yeah.
But he took a little bit of time in between with his injury to kind of just mentally reset, had a little bit of fun. I think he kind of needed a refresh. So I think he'll be having kind of more of a fresh mindset coming into outdoors, because he took that little bit of time to just relax for minutes, and he's motivated again now. You can see it in him. So I think he'll be a tough guy come East Coast, and he's always good on the East Coast national tracks.
Yeah, I missed out. One night I was going to Phil's house to pick up some crutches he was giving me to use for free. And he's like, I'm going to be hanging out in Charlotte all afternoon. And then I got to his house at like 10 p.m. and you guys were still hanging out. He's like, I was like, Phil, that was like 8 hours ago.
Yeah, it was a loose program.
All right, but you'll be ready for race time. You'll be ready.
Yeah, I'll be ready.
Okay, stopwatch nationals. I mean, is the goal not to get landed on? Is the goal to show people what's up? That's the last thing I want to know. Is you're leaving this morning with the bike. What's running through your mind?
I mean, I actually have a couple things I've got to test with Art of War. So
okay.
I raced this weekend and kind of got a feel for my bike, and it just, feels a little bit high in the rear coming into the turns, like on entrance, it feels high. So really, I haven't thought about speed at all. I'm like, I'm more worried about getting my bike just a little bit more fine tuned coming in. That's the thing. I haven't really thought much about the racing, even in Supercross. It's more so like the task I got to complete and the things I got to do. And then I kind of get to the track, and then things just kind of happen and fall together. But no, I don't really care where I stack up at Glen Helen. I know I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Okay, so you're not going to be on the side of the track, and then when Anderson or Tomac go by, you pull in behind them. That's not the goal today.
That's the last thing on my mind.
Okay, good. That's probably the safe way too. All right, Marsh, good stuff. I'm glad to know there's still one guy out there doing it the old fashioned way, which is I'm going to go to every race I can and make as much money as I can because I actually like it. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could be in PA this week, and they got the Dylan Slusser Memorial at Pleasure Valley. That was on the list, but I can't be everywhere at once. So I do plan on, I think, did they change Paula in the last round? I
Like
thought it was
the layout?
No, I thought it was, or for the last round of nationals, I thought it was Labor Day weekend.
The last round is still at Pala. The date's the same as it's always been.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
I must have looked at the calendar wrong, because I'm going to do Baja Brawl too after that. So I plan on doing quite a few in the fall coming after the season. I'll probably do Brawl, K-Rock, Travis Pastrana Shootout, probably Muddy Creek Top Gun Showdown.
Bro, you're going 12 months a year on the racing team once you add it all up.
Trying to make my money back.
It's a weird way that this sport works. All right, Marsh, get mentally prepared. Go to Glen Helen. Good luck, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Weege.
Dude.
See ya.
All right,
Bye.
see ya.